First of all, thank you everyone for carving out some time this afternoon. It's a beautiful sunny day. Hopefully at some point everyone has the opportunity to get outside. I don't know what it's like in New York for you guys, Ryan and Annabelle, who are not in Chicago, but it's been a beautiful week. Thank you guys for joining this resource group meeting. I will give some context regarding what this meeting is for those who haven't participated before. But just right off the bat, this is a group of stakeholders that have been involved with some last mile mobility planning efforts in Bedford Park. And this resource group has really been instrumental in helping the village develop its last mile mobility action plan. And then by extension, the Connect2Work pilot program. So with that program now underway, the RTA and our partners have asked the Village and the Connect2Work team to reconvene this group so that we can kind of reactivate this coordinated effort and just report out regarding the status of the pilot program, and then even discuss some next steps for moving forward. We do have about 24 participants. So actually, I think we could do this. We have about an hour and a half carved out, but let's do a really quick round of introductions so that we know who's on the call. And yeah, given that it's not a huge group, we can go ahead and if you'd like to chime in during the presentation or during the Q&A, feel free to unmute yourself and we'll go from there. So I will go ahead and just kick it off. I'm Curtis Woodick with Antero Group. We are urban planning and civil engineering consulting firm that has been working with the Village, Cook County, the RTA, and other partners to manage the Connect2Work pilot program. So I'll go ahead. I don't know if we all have the same order of participants, but the next person on the list here is Kevin from the RTA. So Kevin, would you like to go ahead and introduce yourself and your affiliation, please?
Hi, I'm Kevin Stansfield from the RTA. I was brought on as the project manager after the project had started. Peter Kirstner, who I'll point to next, helped set this project up with the Village, Cook County, and the Antero Group.
Hello, Peter Kirsten, RTA. Was involved with some of the initial planning, and then as Kevin stated, still kind of participating, but Kevin is the lead on the project moving forward. And I will pass it to Cook County to introduce themselves next.
Hi there, Bennett Haller, Cook County Department of Transportation and Highways. Am I the only person from the county on this call?
Bennett.
Oh, hey.
I'm here as well. Sam Wright, Transportation Planner with Department of Transportation and Highways. But I think we're the only two, Bennett.
All right, then let me hand it off to Jamie Osborne then.
Hi guys, I'm Jamie Osborne with the Chicago Department of Planning and Development. Really excited to hear of the work, and we're always thinking about economic development and industrial corridor development and seeing how this is working out. Who should I pass it to? Just because I want to practice the last name, to Johnny Terzakis.
Wow, pretty good.
That was easy.
Thank you. I'm with Hoffman Development Group. Thank you. Hoffman Development Group, we are stakeholders and owners of property in Bedford Park and interested in growing further within this community.
Hi, this is Dawn Welch. I'm from Cintas Corporation, and we also are stakeholder as we have about 600 partners in the industrial park. And looking, I was on the original group and looking forward to what the future holds with this group.
Great. Well, I'm going to go ahead and hand it off to Annabelle. If there's a lull, I'll just call a name out, but feel free to pass it to someone.
I'll let you hand it off to someone. I don't want to call anyone out. My name is Annabelle. Nice to meet everyone. I work with Curtis as well as the Village of Bedford Park to help power a successful Connect2Work free shuttle. So nice to meet you all today.
And Ryan's next on the screen here. So Ryan.
Hey everybody. Yep, Ryan Wunsch. I head our customer success team here in North America. I am from Move It, so we are the powering the app for all things Connect2Work.
Colin.
Hey, this is Colin Murphy from the Shared Use Mobility Center. We are supporting Antero in this. We helped out on the study portion of the project in the first phase, and helped out also on the getting the procurement going and just sort of advising on shared mobility overall. So excited to hear how this is progressing.
John Crisis, putting you on the spot.
Sure. Hi, John Crisis with VIA. I'm the Director of Partnerships and focus on the Central region. So I work closely with Annabelle. Nice to meet you all.
All right, I'm gonna send it to Stephanie, and then Stephanie, you could call the next person. So let's say Stephanie from CMAP.
Morning, or I guess afternoon. Stephanie Levine from CMAP. I'm also joined by my colleague Lindsay Hollander. We're working on some mobility recovery work over at CMAP and just generally interested in what kind of lessons we can learn from the pilot. I'll throw it over to, let's see, I see Jeremy from MPC on the list.
Hey everyone, Jeremy Glover here from MPC. No formal connection to this particular pilot, but very big supporters, very interested in this type of thing. We've done some research in the past about employer-provided transportation solutions and created a whole kind of toolkit to help employers think about that process of setting something up. So here to learn, and nice to see everyone.
All right, let's see, I see Dimitri. We're just kind of popcorn handing this off. We're almost through the list here.
Yes, hi, my name is Dimitri Genove. I'm one of the associate planners with Pace Suburban Bus, and I also deal with our on-demand program. And I'll send it over to Lucas, who's also with Pace.
Hi, Lucas Rigstad. I'm a service planner for Pace.
Great. How about Matt? All right, we'll come back to Matt. Oh, there.
Oh, sorry, I was muted.
No problem.
Presume we're doing intros here, Curtis.
Yeah, just quick intro, name. Yeah, name and affiliation.
Yeah, hey, hi folks. Good to be with you all. Matt Ginsberg from Ty Ginsberg and Associates. We do the federal consulting for the Village of Bedford Park. Thanks everyone for being on this meeting, and looking forward to continuing to work with you all.
Okay, how about Will Hansen? Will, you might be on mute. If you're...
Oh, here I am. I'm sorry. I struggled with getting off mute as well. Will Hansen, Nexus Distribution. We're a tenant in the industrial park. Just interested in the program for our possible use by our employees.
Great, thank you for being here. Let's see, Cody.
Hey, good morning, everyone. Cody Lowe here. I am the customer success manager on the Uber Transit team, and I work directly with Curtis on the Connect2Work program.
All right, Emily from CTA.
Hey everyone, my name is Emily Drexler. I'm a planner at CTA. I participated on the resource group for the mobility study, so excited to hear an update on how the pilot's going.
Great. How about George?
Hey guys, sorry for doing it a little bit later. I'm George Brighton, and I'm part of VIA. I'm a general manager for the service in Bedford Park and work as part of our broader transportation as a service team, which provides public mobility, microtransit solutions to the needs of our various partners across the world, which includes cities, regional transportation authorities, corporates, and other customers. And yeah, really happy to be here and looking forward to the discussion.
All right, sticking with Jay's now, let's go Jesse and then Joanne Rooney.
Howdy, everybody. Jesse Elam with Cook County Department of Transportation and Highways. I'm the Planning and Policy Director. We are funding partners on this project.
We very much appreciate that. Cook County's been was the catalyst, got this process started with the initial investment through Invest in Cook, and yeah, we're happy to have Cook County and RTA as funding partners along with the village. Let's see. Did I miss? I know we have Joe, and he's going to have a more of an extended intro here. So, but it looks like Jordan Hawks. Did you have an opportunity to introduce yourself?
Oh, not yet. Hi, everybody. Okay. I'm Jordan. I'm the plant manager at Ruggable here in Bedford Park, textile manufacturer. Just looking forward to see what we can learn to offer to our employees.
Great. I see Shausha here.
Hi everyone, it's Shausha. I'm Shausha Hong with from Ontario Group. I'm the planning analyst. I work closely with Curtis. And I've been helping with the program ever since its launch. Been helping with digital marketing, employee toolkits, and been working closely with VIA over in Move It in terms of the ridership data analysis. It's nice to meet you all.
Excellent. Okay, I think that's everyone. Did I miss anyone besides Joe at the village?
It's me. Hi, Joanne Rooney from Move It, town executive based outside of Chicago. Really excited to be here. I work with Ryan and the team on this project, so really excited to learn more about what's going on.
Great, thank you, Joanne. And all right, with that, I'm going to go ahead and hand it off to Joe Ranofsky from the Village of Bedford Park. Go ahead and take it away, Joe.
I'm going to turn on my camera for a minute for everyone to see me, but I'm trying to maximize the Wi-Fi here. So I switch back over. Apologies to, I see everyone else is hiding on camera, so we can do the same thing. But in all seriousness, obviously I want to thank all our partners, Curtis and Antero Group, for kind of managing the schedule here behind the scenes and really doing a lot of the heavy lifting for the village. So our gratitude, and obviously, Move It via, and what am I missing? The last one, Uber, for kind of delivering this program to us. I keep bringing it up, but when COVID hit and no one was transportation kind of fell on the back burner, and we're no one's going to work, and we debated on all these calls from working from home to say, hey, do we delay the program? Do we continue moving forward with the program? Like when's the perfect launch time? And it really kind of dawned on us when they started to just slowly loosening up restrictions that Bedford Park, we had an essential workforce, not just from a police department, fire department, public works, but really all the businesses in town. When we started really looking at, hey, there's 26,000 people that work in Bedford Park every day. Let's just launch, let's get this program launched and moving. And I think if there's any of a build back better, whatever term you want to talk about coming out of COVID, this is really a program that the village is proud of to hang our hat on. And when we look through, all the different community partners, we've got developers on the line here, we've got existing businesses that they're all, the county, the RTA, CMAP, going down all the board. Appreciate all your assistance in really making this program a success. The village is proud of it. I know the mayor's proud of it. We want to keep this program going. It's a pilot in terminology today, but really what we're looking forward to is, I make a joke. I said, when you think of big data, municipality jumps at you right off the bat, but we've got Uber, Move It, VIA to be able to share what that is. We've got a partnership with the University of Illinois and their research and engineering department to make sure that every recommendation that we have is completely vetted And really what we want to do is make this, you know, an essential service that the village is able to provide in conjunction with our businesses in town. And so that's, you know, for my goal and role in economic development is to make sure that we've thought of everything. We're checking every single box and there's no missteps, because, you know, where we sit today is not necessarily where we're going to sit 5-10 years from now. And really planning forward programs like this, not only, you know, give the village a great marketing tool to hang our hats on, but it's really the businesses communicating back with us. And as Curtis is going to run through kind of the program here, our lines are always open at the village. Appreciate all the support, suggestions, tell us what we're doing wrong. You know, we want to fix everything to be able to do right, but I just want to acknowledge everyone here on the call today that everyone's playing an important part of what we're doing here. And it might not seem like that until we regroup on here, but you know, the amount of data that we're collecting behind the scenes to be able to influence, you know, bus routes or anything that we can change to make businesses hiring, retaining easier. And then at the end of the day, you know, just not having people walking in the street in snow. It sounds so simple, but how does that fit into the bigger picture of what we're trying to be as a village? And if for everyone that has walked upstairs to Village Hall, we really do care about people. And we want to make sure that that comes across in Curtis's presentation here, that we are here to help. It's just not something that we say, but, you know, we're a friend to everybody and want to make sure that everybody, you know, understands that, you know, we do have the full support of, you know, all our partners in this to make sure that, you know, we're at least doing our part to make this thing work. So thank you guys. The extended introduction that Curtis put me on the spot for, that was coming out here today, but really want to appreciate, you know, everybody's role in making this program a success so far.
Great. Thank you, Joe. And thank you also for just the village's leadership engagement in this whole process, from the study to the plan now into the program implementation. Just the mayor, your team has been just great to work with, and one of the key reasons why this program has moved so quickly from planning to implementation. So thanks for your leadership, not only within the Village of Bedford Park, but really in the region as you know, a municipality that's taken this issue head on. So let's go ahead and jump in here, but actually with representatives from Cook County and the RTA, I know I'm putting you guys on the spot as well, but would you like to say anything at the top of the agenda here? If not, there'll be another opportunity within the agenda, but also want to open it up to you guys if you have any opening remarks, if you will.
Yeah, Curtis, I just want to say the RTA is excited about the early performance of this pilot. We've done some other last mile pilots around the region, which Peter was over, and the numbers here are looking good, especially seeing that it started in the middle of a pandemic at the end of last year. In January of this year, we know how the weather was this winter. So it shows that there is, at least initially, a great need for last mile transportation. And the hope is that we can continue growing this with the word that we can get out with everybody on this call, and some additional outreach that, you know, Antero Group and the village are continuing to do with the partners Move It and Via. So we just look forward to keep growing this program. And thank you everyone for being on this call.
Yeah, and this is Bennett from Cook County. I mean, just backing up what Kevin just said, I think, you know, both of our agencies are keenly interested in more first last mile projects, particularly where it helps, you know, essential workers, you know, off shift workers, off peak workers get to their final destination, particularly when the more mass transit elements aren't necessarily the appropriate answer. So, you know, we look forward to, and I think the success of this project so far is great. I look forward to, you know, a perhaps more post-pandemic analysis that might occur over the coming months, hopefully, so we can see, you know, how big it really can get when everyone's working, you know, on site a little more. But, you know, I think this is a great project and look forward to the presentation.
Great. All right. Well, thank you everyone for the introductions, and let's get to it. So in terms of the agenda today, we're going to start off. I'm going to provide an overview regarding the Connect2Work program. I think many of us on this call are aware of the program that's live, and have some idea of what it is, but just in case there's any, some people might not have been engaged since the planning efforts that went into this. There might be some new folks on the call here. So just want to make sure that we all have a shared understanding regarding what is Connect2Work and what are the different mobility services that are available through the program. Then we'll provide a progress report. We have about a Q1 plus a month worth of data. So we'll be able to show you the performance of the program to date, or at least as recently as end of May. We'll have some time for partner presentations. So we have representatives from Move It, Via, and Uber who are here to kind of just discuss what their role is in this program. And then I want to leave plenty of time open for discussion and Q&A, and also discuss some next steps, both in terms of the remainder of this one-year pilot program, but also some possibilities beyond that time frame. And we will adjourn promptly at, let's see, 1:30. And if not, if we get through it sooner, we can possibly, give back a few minutes on this beautiful day for you guys. All right, so we did introductions. So let's get right into the program overview. A little bit of history here. In 2018, the Village applied for and was awarded a grant through Invest and Cook. And that grant allowed the Village to complete a last mile mobility study in which we looked at just what are the last mile challenges, whether that's related to the pedestrian network. As you see there, there's a gentleman walking to work and he has to cross a pretty dangerous intersection. But there could also be last mile gaps in the transit system, as well as just general issues related to the road network, traffic congestion, and at-grade railroad crossings. So we just kind of try to look at the whole universe of mobility challenges and then package that into a framework for thinking about last mile mobility. We then drilled down a little bit in more detail. Once we understood what the challenges and potential solutions were, we made specific recommendations for the Village of Bedford Park. And one of those recommendations was to implement a pilot program, a multimodal program that works with different partners to provide different types of services. Because what we had learned in that study, in that planning effort, was, Bedford Park is a unique context in that it's an industrial corridor with over 500 businesses that have multiple shifts, and one solution just doesn't fit all. And there's a lot of, there's late night service that we needed to address. There's the last mile gaps that we needed to address. So the way we designed this pilot program was specific to those challenges that we observed. And in terms of some housekeeping, there will be a time at the end for Q&A and just open discussion. But if there's a specific slide, just given that we don't have too many people on the call, feel free to chime in and ask a question as we go along here. In terms of the program background, Connect2Work is a one-year mobility pilot program that was launched, as Bennett mentioned, in December of 2020. In fact, the date was December 28th. Perhaps one of the worst times of the year to launch a new program. And there's kind of a history or reason as to, or a little bit of a story as to us just pulling the trigger and saying, let's just make this live. But it worked out. We're here. The program launched it. So why are we doing this? And the answer is to test different solutions to commuter challenges that were identified through the Village's Last Mile Mobility Action Plan. The funders for this program include the Village, Cook County, and RTA. It's a 1/3, 1/3, 1/3 split. So this is truly a public-public partnership. Maybe in the future, as we scale this program, it can become a public-private partnership. But for this pilot, those are the three funders. And then, of course, the partners and the mobility and technology providers include Uber, Via, Move It, Antero Group, and the Shared Use Mobility Center. So in terms of the program goals, there are three overarching goals that we really distilled from the planning effort. And one is to improve workers' access to and from Bedford Park. That was really the driver behind doing that study in the first place. There are businesses, many of which, or some of which, who are on this call that want to grow and have the need to grow, but we learned that it is the difficulties in getting their workforce to their plant or their warehouse and back made it difficult to hire and retain talent. So making it easier for workers to get to and from Bedford Park is just a key goal for this program, both for the employees' sake, but also for the employers. It really is the villages responding to what they've been hearing over the past few years. The second goal is to expand access to public transit and shared mobility services. We learned in the study that the #1 concern or frustration in terms of the commute, this probably isn't a surprise to anyone, but it's traffic and congestion. So simply making it easier for people to drive to work and back would contribute to the congestion in the area. So the extent to which we can incentivize, promote, or connect people from public transit, the better, because it's just a more space efficient and sustainable way to commute. And we also include shared mobility services in there. And we have the Shared Use Mobility Center as a partner on this. And there's a really exciting movement, if you will, within urban mobility to expand access to ride sharing, ride hailing, micro transits, and potentially even more micro mobility options like scooters or bike sharing in the future. And then lastly, as a pilot program, we want to identify ways to improve and expand upon this pilot and really share our lessons learned both at a regional level and at a national level. So just recapping here, the program sponsors shown there, the technology providers and mobility providers, and then the project delivery team. And I would just also add that Active Transportation Alliance was involved with the study and the planning effort as well. So how does it work? So Connect2Work, the name refers to the overall program that is now available, that's live, it's out there. It's available to Bedford Park employers to promote to their employees. And the Connect2Work is an app that combines different transit options to make commuting easier. So if you actually go to the App Store on iOS or Android, search Connect2Work, you will find the Connect2Work app. And through there you can, and Ryan will go into this in more detail, but you can plan your trip and you can book your rides by linking out to Uber and a free Shuttle app that VIA has created for this program as well. And really the goal here is to have a one-stop shop, or for those in the transportation space, a mobility as a service or mass solution to make it as easy as possible for people to plan their route, see what the most convenient route is or most affordable, and then ultimately to book their trip. In the future, there's different, there'll be different options to hopefully, integrate the mass component, the mobility as a service component, even so that people can plan, book, and even pay for their trip within the same app. In terms of the program design, that blue polygon that you see there, that is the service area, and that area was defined based on what we learned in the study in terms of where people are coming from. It obviously does not capture the whole geographic region from which Bedford Park employees are coming from, but it captures about 50 to 60%, because a lot of workers do come immediately north from Summit or Clearing or Burbank, Bridgeview. And just shown there are a few just landmark icons, with the Midway CTA station being probably the key transit node within the service area. But for the free shuttle service, there is a free shuttle that operates within that polygon during the AM and PM peak travel time, so 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. and then 3 p.m. to 7 p.m. There's a last mile service provided by Uber, which is available Monday through Friday, 6 to 9, and then late night service from 9 p.m. to 6 a.m. So essentially 24-hour service during the weekdays. And the way that works is that riders will receive a 50% discount on their Uber fare up to an amount of $7. And for the late night service, people can come from or, book a ride, let's say in Bronzeville or Blue Island, and get to Bedford Park and then take the trip all the way back to those locations. But again, the cap on the subsidy is still set at $7. Okay. Again, feel free to stop me as I roll through these slides. I'm happy to address any specific questions that might come up as we're going through this presentation.
Curtis, sorry, can I ask a question about the shuttle?
Sure.
Was there a specific path, like a routing for the shuttle that you have a map of, or could you take it to any of these nodes?
So it is zone-based. There is kind of a route that's emerging, which is connecting people from CTA to those harder to reach areas, like where you see Home Chef, Cintas. And we do have a map that shows the origin destinations for both the Uber and the free shuttle services. But it's George or Annabelle from VIA, correct me if I'm wrong, but it's not a route specific. It's really zone based. So those free shuttles can operate and are operating anywhere within this polygon.
Yeah, exactly.
And then with the shuttle, is it like you have to call for it, or is it just waiting in a certain place and you get on and you say, I want to go to Home Chef, or is it something that you would call similar to an Uber?
So there is an app. So people would download the free shuttle app and then hail a ride there. There also is a call-in option, but the primary way that people are booking these rides or calling it is through the app.
Okay, thanks for the clarification. I was just trying to understand that it was more similar to like an Uber ride versus like a shuttle with a route, a specific route to it. And it sounds like the former.
Yeah. But as we, hopefully as we are able to lift some of the capacity constraints for the vehicles, as we move in the right direction, we do want to increase the capacity of the vehicles, and depending on the demand that we're seeing, the size of the vehicles, and truly operate this as a zone-based shuttle. And at some point, if we learn through the pilot program that there is a specific route that is most optimized or optimal, or is, like this could become a demand responsive route where there's kind of a loosely set or fixed route. But that's the point of this pilot, is to kind of identify those patterns and then adjust the program accordingly.
Exactly. And then just to clarify a bit further for you, Emily, the service is completely dynamic and on demand. So you won't be waiting anywhere for the shuttle to come by. Like Curtis said, you'll just call it on the app and it will be brought to you that way. So it's an on-demand service.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Great. Okay, so once you go, or once anyone on this call is free to, or this meeting is free to test this out. But really the target audience for this program, these services and these apps, are Bedford Park employees. But once they go and download the Connect2Work app, which you see there on the left, you'll see, a pretty clean and user-friendly interface where people can just plug in, where do you want to go? Where are you commuting to? And they'll be able to request an Uber or request a free shuttle. And at this point, the way this is set up is that there's a deep link to these other apps. So once you plan your route, you'll be linked out to Uber. And in order for people to receive a discount, they must sign up through the connect2work.us website. That is also within the app. People can link to that website by clicking on those 3 bars at the top. But the reason we need to do that is so that we can collect the rider's information and verify that they are employed by a Bedford Park employer. And then we, Antero Group in the back end, uploads those registrations to the Uber profiles product, and then they receive a email saying, you know, you're enrolled. So there are some steps here. And of course, as a pilot program, you know, we're always trying to find ways to make this a more streamlined experience for the end user. And the same thing is true for the free shuttle. Riders can click order. If they haven't downloaded the Connect2Work free shuttle app, they would be prompted to do so. And then they could book that shuttle through that app, which was a custom white label app also that VIA had created for this program. And we'll get into a little more details. Ryan from Move It will discuss, you know, kind of the ins and outs of that app in a little more detail. Let's see. Okay, oops. So that's kind of the, what is the program? How does it work? Now, I think this is the meat of the presentation, what a lot of people want to hear, which are the initial metrics. So we've been tracking several key performance indicators. What's shown here include from the launch of December 28th through the end of last month. But we have about 77, I'm just going to run through this and then we'll have a few more slides showing this graphically over time. But we have about 77 app users per week. About 8,800 people have visited the connect2work.us website. We've had 567 signups, 279 Bedford Park, Uber Bedford Park accounts created. So those are people who now have the option to toggle on the discount for Bedford Park. There are just over 1,100 rides, last mile or late night rides completed. The average wait time for Uber is just over 10 minutes. Now kind of shifting to the free shuttle metrics. We have 314 accounts created, just about 1,500 rides completed. Rides completed per rider per week. So this is kind of a measure of how repeat uses during the week, or loyalty, if you will, or just people using this multiple times a week, just under 4 uses per week. The average wait time for the shuttle is 7.7 minutes. Number of area businesses participating. So we have this number from people who have signed up, and we have a list of their employers who are using this, and there's over 20 participating. This metric kind of rolls everything up. So any ride that's been booked through the free shuttle or the last mile or late night, you know, trip taken one way or the other, is about 2,600 commutes that have been improved, with the assumption there that if they were able to get a free shuttle ride or a discounted Uber ride or a late night ride, you know, that's considered an improvement to their current commute. And then some of the top users in terms of the companies that have employees that are using these services, those include Cintas, FedEx, UPS, Atlas First Access, and North American Warehousing Company. All right, I'll take a pause here, but we'll, any questions on this kind of overall slide before I drill down into some of the specifics?
Hey, Curtis, it's Emily again. I have another question. Nobody else does. So I was wondering if you guys have calculated sort of like price per ride. Obviously, this is funded through the 3 different agencies, and I know the shuttle is providing a fully free service, whereas the Uber trips, it sounds like, is subsidized, you know, part of the way. So yeah, just curious if you've calculated that for either the shuttle, Uber, or like rides overall, how much this costs per trip.
We have, and we have a slide where we'll show you that. So hang tight.
Okay,
and we'll get
I will
there.
hang tight. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so this slide kind of shows what we call the conversion funnels. You know, not everyone who signs up ultimately books a trip. Let's see. Sorry, I'm letting people in. So sorry for the pause there. But here on the left shows the conversions for the Connect2Work free shuttle. So on the website, we had 576 people sign up and indicate that they're interested in the free shuttle. There are other channels. So VIA has been doing some social media marketing. And so anyone can see that Facebook message or whatever it is and download the app and get into the pipeline that way. So the website is not the only funnel through which people can sign up and download the free shuttle app. But we have 314 accounts created and 55 riders who have completed at least one ride. And we have found that, and we'll discuss this in more detail, but once someone completes a ride, there's a pretty high likelihood that they will complete multiple and become pretty loyal and repeat users of the service, as shown by the 1,400 completed rides. Pretty similar pattern over here for Uber. We had 567 website signups. In this case, the website is the only channel because we have to collect that user information so we can upload them to this Bedford Park profile. So that's translated to 279 accounts or profiles created, and then 60 people who have completed at least one ride, and then just over 1,100 completed rides.
So Curtis, this is Bennett. You know what question I'm going to ask here?
Yes. How many riders are using both apps? Is that the one?
You read my mind.
So we have broached this subject both with VIA and Uber, and just given some of the data sharing restrictions we have for this program, we aren't able to find a direct user ID or trip code to relate those two. However, we are getting at that question through a user survey where we're asking people if they're using multiple apps and using that as a proxy to understand users' habits here, and are they using one app, the other, or both?
Thank
So
you.
I wish I could give you here's the exact answer to that question, but I think that just given where we're at with the pilot and the type of data integrations that we have, that this survey is going to be the only way that we can get at that question. All right, so getting into some of the time series information here. This is a graph of the website visitors, just a general metric showing, not necessarily interest, but just visibility of the program. You'll see that pretty slow start in January, but then we had a pretty concerted marketing push where Uber had sent out a blast email to riders who have taken a trip in the service area in the past several months. VIA funded and supported a social media campaign. And then we had a webinar with in partnership with the BPCIA. So thank you for supporting us there. I know there might be a few representatives from that group. In that effort, you could see a pretty clear or pretty major bump in the numbers. And then it kind of trailed off as we, didn't have as much of a concerted or intense marketing push. So we've been testing out different marketing activities. We then had later in March, another campaign where we developed and released an employer toolkit. We sent out emails to employers and made several hundred cold calls. You could kind of see there also another uptick. We're testing out different combinations of marketing and outreach activities. And we are currently in the midst of another marketing push, which includes another Uber email. This should say there should be another social media campaign. VIA is supporting a 2-week social media push. And then of course, we have this webinar. I don't know why that says 520. Do we have another? Oh, there's been a few other presentations which are more targeted for the regional partners. Like we've presented to CMAP, the Freight Committee, which Bennett is on and invited us to. But really, the way we think of marketing is at multiple levels here. There's kind of the we can think of it in 3 tiers, really: the national, regional, and local. And the national is just trying to raise the profile of the program. We did a webinar with Uber, and maybe that's the 520. I did, Cody or Daisy, if you could correct me, but we did a webinar with Uber to their network to kind of raise the national profile of this program. And then at a regional level, we've been presenting to groups like this and other partners to let our regional partners know that this is happening, and see if there's any opportunities for coordination and collaboration. And then, of course, there's the most local and on the ground marketing, which is trying to do outreach directly to the employers and to the employees themselves. So that's kind of the 3 tiers that we're thinking about marketing. And I think a learning point here is that there is a clear response when you do push on the marketing. You could see the uptick in the various metrics of the program. Connect2Work app users per week. Again, a similar metric that shows a similar pattern here. Again, this is just a metric we're using to measure overall engagement. Rides booked by service type. So here we break out trips, late night rides, last mile rides, and then free shuttle trips. So you could kind of see the breakdown of the rides that are being booked through this program. You know, given that it's totally free, you know, there is quite a bit of interest in that free shuttle. But another interesting takeaway here is about a 50-50 split between rides booked for late night and last mile, which we think reflects the nature of Bedford Park, and that this is an industrial corridor with an industrial workforce with people working late night shifts. So this is an atypical pattern for I think most transit services, that is pretty close to a 50-50 split for people using it in the late night hours versus daytime peak hours. Here we're showing rides completed by service and time. You can see some obvious peaks here. Something to note though is that the free shuttle, the blue bars that's only available during those travel times. But we're zeroing in on some pretty clear peaks, and this is for the whole program overall. We can drill down into specific corridors or origin destinations to even get a more specific, you know, can we get the key travel times for the 65th Street, which I know is a key corridor, not only for businesses, but we have a new high school that's being built there. And there's existing CTA transit service on 65th Street. But here we're showing that 7 a.m. and 4 p.m. are the peak travel times in terms of the use of this program. And in terms of the late night hours, 10 p.m. and 4 a.m. kind of stand out. Okay, so this gets to to Emily's question regarding cost per ride. So we are tracking the monthly spend for the different services and just dividing that by the rides completed to get to a cost per ride. Some caveats here. It's not a true fair apples to apples comparison. The Uber service is partially subsidized and it's capped at $7. But some of the takeaways and insights here, with the free shuttle, the utilization is, or the ability for VIA to really max out those vehicles and optimize the service is artificially restricted at this point because of COVID restrictions. We're limiting the capacity to 50%. But as we continue to track the COVID trends and guidance from the CDC, as well as the governor's office, knock on wood, we continue to move in a positive direction, and we're hoping that we might be able to lift those capacity restrictions in the near future, which would increase vehicle utilization and therefore reduce the cost per ride. Also, as there's increased demand, we could kind of optimize the vehicle types and continue to drive that number down. But overall, I think, you know, for these are two different types of services, and you know, we're not comparing this necessarily to CTA or other types of transit service, but and from a budget management standpoint, you know, this is a pretty efficient way to connect people to work, and we're continuing to find ways to further optimize these services.
What, sorry, can you go back to for a second? Thanks for sharing this information. That's really helpful. Curious, like, so the shuttles right now, like what, the shuttles that you're running, like what is the occupancy? And then if you're restricted to 50% capacity, like how often was there more than one person using the same shuttle? Do you have that information?
So, yeah, go ahead, George. Yeah, why don't you take this, George?
Yeah, happy to take this one. So the capacity at the moment is currently 2 per vehicle, and we would increase it to 3. In terms of the impact on utilization, difficult to predict, but it would definitely increase utilization, bring down cost per ride. In terms of how many unique bookings occur within the same ride, I can follow up with that data. But I think Curtis makes the right points here in terms of the trajectory of cost per ride. Unlike a private ride-hailing model, increased demand density will bring that cost per ride number down. And I think the service maturity here is an important piece of context in that it's a pilot, the demand will continue to grow. And over the next few months, as we push harder on demand generation, we can expect that cost per ride number to come down in a way that would not be the case in a private ride-hailing model. And then I think secondly, as we've been discussing, increasing the capacity of each vehicle. So increasing the aggregability of each vehicle will also provide an additional push down on that cost per ride figure.
Hey, really quick on this. This is Jamie from Chicago DPD, and maybe you said this and I had just zoned it out. But this is, I see that there's the month. You have a consistent kind of time frame there. Is there a consistent span of service for the free shuttle and the Uber service? It seems like the free shuttle has a much more narrow window, right, in terms of like hours per week that it would be in operation. And so it would be interesting to see like the ride, you know, completed rides per hour, just to normalize between the both.
Yeah, so that would be getting at that metric of utilization. So we can do that. You know, we could take the available hours. As you mentioned, the free shuttle is a narrower time frame, and Uber is effectively 24 hours. So that is certainly something that we could look into. Okay, so I'm going to keep rolling here because I do want to leave. I know we're taking questions throughout, but I also want to open it up to the broader group. But just in the interest of time, I'll just keep rolling here. This is kind of redundant with what was shown earlier, but just zeroes in on the late night and last mile rides. Again, you kind of see that close to 50-50 breakdown. This is a little more detailed information. We have detailed information from Uber riders because we are collecting their employer information. So as in terms of the businesses that are using these services, we could see the last mile rides, you know, Cintas, Atlas, North American Warehouse, FedEx, Bedford Grow, kind of the heavy users for the last mile rides. Late night rides, UPS, FedEx, Cintas, Walmart, Marriott.
Curtis, it'd be interesting on these if we actually knew how many employees each entity had.
How many employees are like registered?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, I'll make that. So Shausha, can you make note of that to, you know, we can maybe add that as a column.
Well, registered and also just how many employees each business has in absolute terms, right?
Yes, which is we have found a surprisingly difficult number to get. We have census data, we've used Esri in their third-party data provider, and then we also have business license data, and every source that we've gone to is different. So I think what we've done there in the past is kind of take the average of those different sources, unless anyone has any brilliant data source, any data source for business or employee counts.
Well, just, I mean, just for the businesses on the call, I mean, if I hope you know what I'm getting at. I want to know, like, you know, what's the ratio of total employees to the number that are using it to see like where the uptick is the best. It'd just be interesting to know that.
Yeah, and I think, let me pull up the chat here. So Don, and to your comment, yeah, Cintas from the planning effort now through implementation, you've been really proactive in promoting this program to your partners, and I think you could see the response to those efforts. So definitely thank you for, you know, getting the word out to your partners about this program, and we will continue to look for ways to partner with you and any other Bedford Park employers that want to get the word out. Okay, Uber rides completed per rider here, again showing repeat riders. I'm gonna keep rolling here. This one is very interesting. So we have access to a movement dashboard through Uber. Actually, we have a dashboard through each of our partners, Move It, Uber, and Via. But here we're showing the pickup origins. There's just quite a bit of local rides that you see there, like that one that looks kind of close to Summit. But there's also a decent amount coming from Chicago South Side in the, let's see, it looks like Kenwood, Bronzeville area. Also Pilsen, and, you know, just at the bottom of the screen, you see Riverdale, Blue Island, and some people coming from the south suburbs as well. Here are the drop-off destinations. That big one that you see right there in the middle, I think it's pretty safe to say that that's Cintas, also given the previous slide. And then there's that parcel district in the southwest part of the village where UPS and FedEx are located. So there's a pretty big drop-off cluster there. And then where Summit gets kind of cut off is where Home Chef and some other warehousing facilities are. And then of course we have scattered businesses all throughout the commercial and retail corridor there along Cicero and near Ford City Mall. And then a somewhat noticeable spiky area around the Midway Hotel Center. So here we've kind of created some typologies of trip types. So shown there at number 1, I'd say is a power user. So this is someone who just figured it out and knows, like, hey, I can get a discounted ride from my home near the north part of Bedford Park or near Summit to work. And they just rely on that, and that's become part of their daily commute. Another pattern is connecting from Midway to various locations in Bedford Park. So people are using this as a last mile connection to get from Midway to other employers. Type 3 is a late night trip of someone using this to get from Bronzeville to Bedford Park. From survey data that we collected in our study, we've seen several trip journey stories, if you will, where that person either would have to take a really long bus ride straight west, or perhaps connect to the Green Line, go north, then connect to the Orange Line, and then connect to a bus along Cicero, and then walk down 65th Street. So multiple connections, multiple opportunities for missed connections. And I think this is a really clear story of how we're making that person's life much easier by providing them a more affordable way to get directly from Bronzeville to an employment center in Bedford Park. Same thing goes for number 4, where it's someone coming from, it looks like Pilsen or the Little Village area. And then number 5 shows a last mile late night, going from various locations, from work to various locations.
Hey, Curtis, I know you had the sort of trips per user averages. Do you also see have you gotten like a histogram of how many people you have that have made each number of trips, so that you can see really how many of those power users there are who have used it 10, 20, 30 times versus the number of people who have used it, 2 or 3?
We have the data to be able to do that. We haven't broken it out by individual users to do a histogram, but we can.
Okay.
But we can only do that for the Uber users.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, so here's a similar origin destination map for the free shuttle service. As a pretty clear pattern here, you see the orange line stop at Midway being a clear connection, mobility hub, transit center, whatever you want to call it, and then people are connecting from that location to various areas within Bedford Park and the broader service area, which is kind of exactly the use case that we anticipated that this service would be used for, which is that really last mile or last 3 mile connection. People can get off at Midway, they can count on being able to book or hail a free shuttle. I think the average wait time is 7.7 minutes. So they're not waiting 20, 30 minutes for a bus in that area. And they're able to go straight to, or with some deviation or multiple stops, depending on the utilization, but go pretty much directly to work. Now we're looking into some of the free shuttle metrics. You see a pretty clear pattern of the program growing in terms of the accounts being created. Free shuttle rides completed. Again, there seems to be a pattern here. Not sure exactly what's driving that pattern, but would be interesting to reflect on this later in the pilot when we have a few more months of data. Rides completed per rider. Again, you see pretty, in terms of the feedback we've gotten from VIA, like a pretty healthy amount of repeat users during the week, and that people are really incorporating this into their weekly commuting behaviors.
Is this trips per sign up or trips per person who's taken at least one trip?
It's this figure here is the number of rides that completed per rider in a given week. So it's the total number of rides in a week divided by the total number of unique riders who have taken a ride on the service.
Got it. Okay, thank you.
And just quick point here, we can also plot the distribution of this average as well to kind of tease out whether it's got pretty widespread or whether it's quite concentrated too. So happy to provide that as a follow-up here as well.
Okay, utilization. We had a pretty high utilization in March, and we're hoping to be able to, drive increase in utilization, especially if we increase the capacity of the vehicles. Free shuttle survey results. We do have several surveys that are active. Participation has been pretty low. We have 6 responses to this survey and 4 to the next one that I'm going to show. But we at least have some anecdotes in terms of what we're learning. People use the free shuttle for convenience and affordability. What would you like to see improved about the service? Expanded operation days, especially on the weekends. We've heard that from during our pop-up events, especially the one at Home Chef. What benefits have you seen from using Connect2Work free shuttle? Reduce commute travel time, saving money, and commuting and traveling more often. I think we're going to change how we show this to show the other options that aren't included here as well. But these are kind of drilling into the key takeaways. And then if you commute, when do you commute? Again, 5 to 7 a.m. being the key time for the free shuttle users based on these 6 responses. Similar anecdotes. Let's see, I'm going to just talk about the second one here. What factors influence your choice of Connect2Work transportation options? Price and the wait time are the key factors that we're seeing. People have indicated that app problems, you know, we're trying to get at what those app problems might be and how we can address those. And how would you like to see the Connect2Work app improve? Would be simplifying the sign-up process for discounted Uber rides. And that was a pretty quick run through of some of our key metrics. If your agency or group is interested in a more detailed dive into this, feel free to reach out to me and we can possibly set something up or a more detailed discussion. But at this point, it's 1:08 and we're here until 1:30. If I have representatives from Move It, Via, and Uber, if you guys could just give a quick, I have your slides here. Here, I guess I'll hand it off to Annabelle from Via.
Great, thanks Curtis. Hi everyone, again, I'm Annabelle from Via, and before we dive into more details on the Connect2Work free shuttle, I wanted to give you all some background to those who are not familiar with Via, really on what we are and what some of our capabilities are. So we see ourselves as the digital infrastructure to help power some of these transit operations that you heard about today. And our tech platform has a variety of capabilities from fixed route integration to on-demand, as in this program, paratransit, intermodal and multimodal, as well as mass and ticketing systems. You can go to the next slide, Curtis. So we're in over 24 countries with over 200 plus partnerships that range from universities, city governments, transit agencies, as well as corporations. And we really deliver a full scope transit service that's customized to your needs. Next slide. Great. So Curtis touched on this briefly, but we launched at the end of December and have 3 vehicles that have different restrictions in place because of COVID, and the ride's completely free. So people are able to use this service Monday through Friday, 6 a.m. to 10 a.m., as well as 3 p.m. to 7 p.m. And the biggest thing we've seen here is that sometimes there's demand outside of the service hours. So we're looking at how we can increase that. Next slide, please. And here are a few stats since launch that we're pretty proud of. So with over 1,400 accounts created, really high average rider rating. So the riders are pretty satisfied with the service that we give them with 5 stars. And then also seeing that there's 337 accounts created as of last week. So we've seen an increase in ridership as well as demand for it, which Curtis pointed out to earlier, but we're pretty excited at what we've done so far. Next slide. From our service, we've seen users respond positively, noting that there's improved convenience as well as affordability for commuting. I think the biggest note here is that a majority of the participants use the service because of the free cost. So that's a huge factor for them when they're getting to and from their places of work and utilizing the service for that purpose. Next slide. Lastly, I wanted to point out some of the activities we're currently doing, to partner with local community stakeholders like all of yourselves. These are some of the standard ways of partnering with community stakeholders. The first is typically for services where there's already, a paid option, so it wouldn't really apply here, but these are some of the ways that we can work to increase ridership and, bring about more demand for the service and grow awareness as well. So thank you. I'm sure everyone will have questions and I'll wait till the end.
Great, thank you, Annabelle. So I'll go ahead and hand it over to Ryan Wench from Move It.
Hey everybody, hope you can see me. So just a quick synopsis on Move It. We are a mobility as a service, so a mass provider. We power the back end for Connect2Work app. We are agnostic, so we can work with really any technology, which is why we've happy to partner with both Uber and Via in this particular program. I'm not sure if the slides are there, Curtis, but okay, yeah, I can go through the app quickly. So again, what you're seeing here for some people who are maybe not so familiar with the actual application itself. Right when you log in, you'll see a stations tab. So again, not only do we do Connect Uber and the free shuttle with Via, we have fixed route, we can do micromobility, we really have almost every option possible as that mass provider. So there's a few options here: favorites, taxi, ride hailing, and the more menu. I'll quickly go through the more menu here because one of the things we've instituted is, of course, the actual signing up for the Connect2Work program itself. Above that, you'll see a bunch of different things: agency alerts, settings, feedback, et cetera. But really the goal here is, of course, to drive people to sign up for the Connect2Work program. So once they do that, they'll be shuttled into the page. I'm not sure if we even have that slide, Curtis, but basically, okay, we do, sorry. So your standard sign up page, I don't have to go through every single bullet here, but that is how one of the ways, among many others, marketing efforts, both online, offline, to drive people to sign up for the Connect2Work application program, excuse me. Then going back here, of course, you can order, as I mentioned on the homepage, both Uber and the free shuttle. You must have an account for both of those separately. So it's kind of a three-pronged approach, being a Connect2Work program member, as well as both Uber and Via, because what that will do, that will actually bring you out to the applications themselves outside of the Connect2Work program. But within the Connect2Work application, which is this slide, again, I do want to emphasize what we have for the city of Chicago, even around Bedford Park, different lines, bus, rail, the Chicago L. You can do a journey planner, so a full directions tab. We have real-time information for you connecting to GTFS. And then I think the next step now is actually introducing micromobility. So we've talked about different scooters and shuttles and things like that. So really want to emphasize the kind of the all-encompassing features that we have within Connect2Work that MoveIt has provided. And I believe that might be the last one. Yes. So I went through pretty quick. I know we wanted to stop for questions, but happy to answer anything now or wait on the MoveIt front.
Thanks, Ryan, and thanks, Annabelle. Also, I'd like to, if Cody or let's see, I don't know if Daisy's on the line from Uber, but would either of the Uber folks want to just explain your role in the program?
Sure. Thanks, Curtis, and thank you, Annabelle and Ryan, for giving the intros. So as you all know, we provide a profiles program for Connect2Work. And what that means is riders are registering for the program and they toggle on to a Bedford Park Connect2Work profile in the Uber app. And then they are either enrolled in sort of a late night rides program or a first last mile program. And then they receive up to $7 subsidy on Uber trips in the Bedford Park service area.
Great. Thank you, Cody. And going back briefly to something Ryan mentioned regarding micromobility, that is something that we're considering. As a pilot, we're also looking for ways to scale and expand the geographies, the service hours, as well as the transportation options that are provided through our mass platform. And we are aware that Divvy is expanding to the rest of Chicago, which includes areas that are immediately adjacent to Bedford Park, including just to the north of 65th Street and just across Cicero. So identifying opportunities to integrate Divvy into the Mass app is something that we are considering as well. So in terms of next steps, I've got a few high-level next steps here. We're about just not quite halfway through the first year of the pilot, or through the year of the pilot. So we want to continue to operate and improve the program. We have been making operational and marketing tweaks along the way as we've been getting feedback from different sources. So we're going to continue to just improve what we're doing and how we're doing it. We also want to identify strategies for transitioning from this pilot phase to a full-scale mass and microtransit service for the Bedford Park area. So a key component of that is really engaging this resource group and identifying those strategies and partnerships that need to happen if we are to make this a long-term, sustainable, well-funded program that people can count on, not just for a year, but for many years to come. And then, of course, we want to share our lessons learned with partners such as yourselves at the regional and national level. So those are our next steps in terms of the village and Intero and the project team that is working on Connect2Work. And then we kind of have a call to action here for the folks on this call. We've organized this into 3 different categories. So kind of situate yourself in terms of how you feel you fit in. But on this call, we probably have a good combination of partners and employers. I don't think we have many employees. This forum was more geared towards the regional partners and employers, but things that we can do and work together moving forward. If any component of this presentation or this program aligns with some of your strategic priorities or goals or program areas, if you think there's opportunities for further collaboration, throughout the region here, please reach out. Cook County and the RTA funded this, with part of that being to identify lessons learned that can be shared and scaled throughout the region. So feel free to, I'll leave my contact at the end of the presentation, but yeah, feel free to reach out. And if you are an employer on the call and if you've been aware of it, or if you just discovered this program on this call, we have created some resources for you to promote the program to your employees. So if you actually use that QR code at the bottom, we have an employer marketing toolkit where pretty much any of the marketing materials that we have created for this program, whether it's a flyer, a poster, what you see there on the right is a draft of a joint flyer that we're creating in partnership with the RTA to promote the RTA's transit benefits program along with Connect2Work. Or if you want to set up a pop-up event. So we've gone to Cintas now and Home Chef, where we set up with a table and some materials. We have materials in Polish, Spanish, Cantonese, of course, English, to do outreach and just help get your employees enrolled. So feel free to reach out and tell your colleagues, because really the goal is to continue to drive participation, increase the number of employers and employees that are involved in this program. And then, of course, for the employees, the simple call to action there is to download the Connect2Work app and start taking free and discounted rides. So we have about 10 minutes for Q&A. I was afraid we wouldn't have any time. So now that we've run through all of that, we've heard from some of the partners. Are there any questions from the group?
Hey, this is Dimitri from PACE. Just a quick question for you on one of the earlier slides that had the cost per ride for the free shuttle versus the cost per ride for the Uber. Could you clarify what exactly you mean by cost per ride? Is it per passenger trip? Is it per vehicle trip? Is it per hour? Just looking to get an understanding of what exactly that means.
Yeah, happy to take this one. Very, very good question. So the cost per ride is the total cost of the service for a given week divided by the number of passengers that were transported with that service in that week. So it's to answer your question more directly, it's the number of passenger trips, cost per passenger trip.
Thanks for that.
In that same one is the ride fare. That's basically what the village is paying via.
Yes. Can you repeat that question, please?
I'm looking at the total ride fare column on the leftmost column under the free shuttle. Is that basically just what the village is paying via?
Exactly. That's the cost of the service to Bedford Park in that month. Yeah.
Okay. Thanks.
This is Jamie from DPD in Chicago. I was wondering if I could put Pace's on-demand guys on the spot for a minute and see how does that cost per ride per the service span for the free shuttle compare to what you guys would do?
Good question. You know, I can definitely do some more digging into that because I'm sort of new to the on-demand program. But, you know, in terms of the way we structure our costs, since it's operated by a contractor for us, we kind of look at it on a per hour basis. So it's not exactly directly comparable in that sense. But feel free to shoot me an email and I can do some, you know, some more digging and get back to you on it to see if we can get a more per passenger number to make a more direct comparison.
Great. I mean, just making sure you guys are in the room in this discussion, and these are lots of ways to provide, you know, transit trips for the people that need it, and just making sure that we're comparing.
And how many hours per day is the shuttle running? 3 in the morning, 3 in the afternoon, and just weekdays?
So the Connect2Work free shuttle runs Monday through Friday, 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. and then 3 p.m. to 7 p.m. So it's only Monday through Friday.
Okay, so 8 hours times, so 40 hours. So we could just divide those by 40 basically to get it. Okay.
And then just going back to that cost per ride point, I just want to clarify as well that this should be, you know, decreasing to much lower as our utilization increases. So we've seen that happen over the last couple months with the service, and as more and more people are, you know, using it and utilization's improved. Right now, it's, I think we saw on one of the slides that Curtis showed, it was at 1. So once it goes over 4, the price should decrease pretty greatly.
This is Peter Kirsten from RTA. We've looked at this kind of cost comparison in reference to some of our other pilots that we've done. Bedford Park is not mentioned in the report, but we have a report on our website comparing one in Oak Brook and one in Bannockburn, looking at on-demand shuttles, TNCs, and then also comparison to demand response operated by public agencies to kind of give you some more comparisons on the on that specific metric. One thing I would just point out, though, is to, you know, kind of keep all of the discussion of ridership and metrics in context. The point of this is to learn and to figure out what works. And the discrepancy between TNCs and the shuttle right now have a lot to do with kind of capacity and what the shuttle can do under the current restrictions. But, you know, the point of the pilot is to evaluate and to figure out what works, and not necessarily to make just that determination until we see the full picture.
Exactly, Peter. I appreciate you clarifying that. In your report, did you look at some cost per ride metrics? Is there any insights or comparisons we can glean there, or are these just two different of programs? And I know the contexts are totally different, you know, and that might not be a worthwhile exercise, but I think at least, you know, digging into the PACE on-demand service and seeing how these cost per ride or per trips compare would be worthwhile.
Yeah, I'll link to the Emily from CTA had asked to link to the study. I'll put it into the chat here in a second. I will say that, you know, that $40 per trip range is kind of the industry standard for a lot of paratransit or demand response type services. And given, again, the capacity restrictions around how the shuttle is currently operating, I'd say it's probably more comparable to a paratransit service than a shuttle at this point, in that it's usually serving 1 or 2 customers at most. But again, you know, there's a lot of context into who's available to use it, what the service area of operation is, et cetera. So a lot of things to consider in making that comparison. Another general note on the TNC side, I mean, kind of the biggest lesson we've learned from some of the other pilots is that TNCs are really useful in kind of testing out these low demand markets because they only charge you for the trips you serve. You don't have the overhead of paying a driver based on hours. And that, I think that is obvious in the immediate findings here in Bedford Park, where the Uber rides are looking very cost productive. But again, you know, there is that threshold of once you hit a certain level of demand, Uber doesn't gain any productivity versus a shuttle continues to improve once you hit that threshold. But I will link to the report in the chat now.
Great, thank you. All right, any other questions? Well, if there are no other questions here, we can go ahead and wrap up. Am I going in the right direction? Yes. Oops. So thank you. And I'm just going to put up our contact here. This is contact for Joe, the Chief Business Officer at Bedford Park, as well as my own. Yeah, I think I just want to close on the note. I discussed some of the next steps, but we are going to obviously continue to operate and improve this program. In terms of this resource group, the goal of this initial meeting was just to reconvene this group. And I think there is an interest among the partners to continue to convene this group. And so, you know, this is kind of something we're throwing into the program on a little bit on the fly, but I think this is convening these meetings could be useful in terms of identifying some strategic next steps. So I don't know if RTA or Cook County, I guess the proposal here would be that we continue to convene this group on a quarterly basis throughout the remainder of the pilot program. So we'd have about we would have 2 more meetings. And as we figure out what year 2 looks like, we may continue into 2022.
I was going to say that, Curtis. So thank you for that. I do think that it's just good just to touch base on this program to see where it's going, to actually let folks interact so that they can ask the questions in real time also, which gives us insight into what to look for.
Yes, let's meet again in a quarter.
Sounds good. Awesome. Well, thank you, everyone. We recorded this meeting, and I'm happy to email the slides. I've seen a few comments and requests for those, so we'll go ahead and send the slides to the list, you know, the original resource group meeting. If you do have other colleagues or people that you think should be a part of this conversation, feel free to send them my way, and we will reconvene in a quarter.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Curtis.
Thanks all. Very informative.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Goodbye.
Thanks, guys.
Thank
Take care, everybody.
Thanks. Thank you, Curtis. Thank you, Joe.
No problem.